Yeah, so today our topic is the subversive kingdom and the law. I don't know why they chose me for the law. Maybe it's because I dress in all black. So like the judge. I was getting to think about it. And I am maybe an enforcer in preschool. Because like Hammer and I love teaching 4s and 5, and I even tell them that my name is Bubba. They call me Mr. Bubba, and that's a good enforcer name, I guess, Bubba. But actually, I was kind of excited about this topic because I think it gets maligned a lot. And it's kind of interesting, subversive kingdom, law. That doesn't sound like it goes together, right? But maybe for our purpose, it does. Subversive kingdom, law. The way that we look at it is subversive to the way that our culture, our world maybe looks at law, because it doesn't necessarily see it as a good thing. So I'm always interested in interesting things. So I looked up, what are some of the most interesting laws in the United States of America? So in Alabama, did you know it's against the law to drive a car while you're blindfolded? Come on. Take away my freedom? Wow. In Delaware, it's against the law to sell cat or dog hair.
Well, there goes my life.
There goes some of your income, you know. In Hawaii, it's illegal to place a coin in your ear. Really? Come on. In Indiana, it's against the law to ride your horse faster than 10 miles per hour. Wow. You know, that's something there. In Kentucky, it's illegal for women to marry a man more than 4 times. I mean, I guess it's a law of just don't practice futility. Okay? In Louisiana, it's unlawful to send someone a surprise pizza. And the fine is $500 for that. I mean, there must have been some really bad experiences there, man. Let me see here. So in Maine, it's illegal to park in front of Dunkin' Donuts. My question is, why would you? In New Jersey, it's illegal to wear a bulletproof vest while committing a crime. What's one more added? I mean, really, come on. So let's get a little closer to home, to our neighbors. In California, it's illegal to whistle for a lost canary before 7 a.m. Apparently, that's a problem. So, now, my home state, Oregon, yeah. It's illegal, guys, just remember this, because I know I've done it. It's illegal to go hunting in a cemetery. I mean, you go where the game is, right? So, all right, Washington. Oh, yeah. In Washington, it's unlawful to attach a vending machine to a utility pole. I'm not sure why you would do that, but anyway. Oh, I love this. Montana. Where's Lisa? Lisa, yeah, Montana. In Montana, it's against the law to give a rat as a present. Wow. All right, Nevada. No, nobody from Nevada. It's illegal to sit on the sidewalks. Just know that when you go visit. Okay. And in Wyoming, any Wyoming people? No. In Wyoming, buildings that cost more than $100,000 must have expensive art hung in them. It's on the books. Man, we'd all be in trouble probably. Now let's go home. Idaho. Yeah. In Idaho, it's illegal to sweep debris into the road, alley, or any other public transit place.
What am I supposed to do on broom cleaning?
Right? So all of you that have been, that one's not even that interesting. That's typical of us here in Idaho, just not that interesting. Well, all right, what is law? Law. So our good friend Webster says, a rule of conduct or action that a nation or a group of people agree to follow as a group. That's what law is. But here's the thing, in any nation, the laws of the land define the community in which we as a people live. So these laws define the community in which we live and how to be a member of that community in good standing. You must abide by the law. So that's what it means, the law of the land. It defines a community. It defines how we're a member of that community. And in a way, it's kind of the letters of participation, of being actively involved and productive. So I want to focus on three things today in responsibility to the law. What does the law require from us? So when we think about the law of the land, there's three things that it requires from us. The first one is loyalty. It requires our loyalty to the nation. And in our case today, we're going to talk about our loyalty to the kingdom. It requires our obedience. Oh, wow. We just don't like that word that much. It requires our obedience. It requires our obedience to what a nation prescribes for us to live together in community. Or in our case, for us to be this kingdom of God. It requires us to contribute. Now, we don't like how the nation requires us to contribute sometimes. None of us are too excited about the tax law. But that's a way that we're required to contribute. And there's many other ways that we're to contribute by law to our nation, but definitely to the kingdom. So as we take a look at this, I just want to take a moment to reflect. Because if we're going to be honest, we as human beings just kind of struggle with this issue of the law. And I got to obey the law. It doesn't matter whether it's divine or human. We just struggle with that concept, that we have to obey the law. But let me ask you just a few questions as we think about this for a moment. How many of you want to drive in a city without any traffic laws? No, you don't, Brolin. No, you, because you of all people would die. Yes. That's a scary thing. Some of you that have traveled abroad might have gone to a country where the traffic laws were at least different, if not non-existent. Okay? And so Amber and I have worked in a country that way, and it almost makes you wet yourself. Because I don't know how many things we've been through, but it's like, resuscitate, because it is just scary. And we've seen things happen, and many, at least animals, die, and a lot of people injured in that type of situation. How many of you want to live in a country without any laws? That's just, think about it. Nothing to protect you, nothing to provide for your rights. How many of you want to live in a state without any laws, rules, and regulations, or in a community that has any laws, rules, and regulations? And so when you have an issue with your neighbor, how do you deal with that? Or who keeps you safe? Or what keeps you safe? Law is a part of who we are and what we need to be a community, and to live in order, and to live in harmony, and to live with purpose with one another. So if that's necessary on the human level, how much more important is it from God to us to live as his divine community? Okay? So what I'm talking about today is, we have this issue because, let's just be honest, maybe our selfishness, our self-orientation. We want to think more about ourselves in the group. So let's just really be honest. We are a tad bit rebellious, aren't we? We don't like being told or prescribed anything to do. We don't want to do that. We're rebellious. We even justify our rebellion. Any of you ever get stopped by a traffic officer? Oh, nobody. Yeah, nobody. The funniest one I ever did here was one year, camp rep. We just had that. We were interviewing camp reps, and we got to check traffic history, and we just said, so have you had any tickets and everything? And the young lady said, yes. I said, well, what was it, and how? And she says, well, I got a ticket for going too slow. That's the only time I ever heard one that was like safe, maybe not safe. I don't know how slow she was. She was doing like 20 under. So maybe that's not safe. But most of us, we're going on the other extreme, right? And how many of us justify it to the officer? Well, my speedometer said, or it really wasn't that fast, or, we just said it because we don't want to say, just say it. Yes, I was breaking. Officer, please give me a ticket. I deserve it. It's my right to have this ticket. No, we don't. We're like, we self-justify. I know none of you have ever done it because I've never done it either. Right? Don't laugh, my wife. Okay? But see, we have this thing. We're resentful. We're ungrateful for the law. We have a heart condition. And I think that's really what God tries to get at with us, especially in our text today, is this heart issue. It's a kingdom perspective that we need to take towards the law. When we have this human perspective, it really goes against even two of the core values we have here at the school, which are Christian values. Humility. Are you willing to submit yourself to authority, to law and order, especially to God's law, right? Are you committed to community? Because without these laws, there is no meaningful community that we can be a part of. And that's whether it's on the human level of nation, state, community, or in the divine level of us being God's people, or even this college having different rules and things of that nature. And maybe we don't always appreciate, maybe we even disagree with, but should that make us a people that love lawlessness instead of law? Even when we disagree. So, let's take a look at this today. This passage actually comes, the children of Israel have come out of Egypt, so it's in Deuteronomy 5 and 6. Deuteronomy 5, of course, is that great scene of Moses going up onto the mountain and receiving the law, the Ten Commandments, as we've all, learned or memorized at some time, hopefully. And these laws, oftentimes in society and stuff, even these laws given by God are seen negatively. But we're not going to focus as much on the law today as they were given. We're going to focus on our hearts towards law, towards God. And so as we take a look at that happening in 5, I'm just going to read this first part of chapter 6, which many of you are probably familiar with, because he's done and now he exhorts them. Now this commandment, and these are the statutes and judgments which the Lord your God has commanded to teach you, that you may observe them in the land which you are crossing over to possess, that you may fear the Lord your God to keep all of his statutes, his laws, and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson and all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Therefore, hear, O Israel, and be careful to observe them, that it may go well with you, and that you may multiply greatly, as the Lord your God, the God of your fathers, has promised you, a land flowing with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. And here's our key verse today, 6:6. And these words which I command you today shall be on your heart, and you shall teach them, in verse 7, you shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk about them as you sit in your house, as you walk by the way, as you lie down and go to bed, as you rise up in the morning. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand and to the frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. See, here's the real thing. We have the law, and you know the Ten Commandments, and the commandments regarding God himself. And this is covenantal law. This is God's promise to us. If we fulfill our promise to him, this is a covenantal agreement. This is law. This is the law for his community. And it doesn't go away. Sometimes I get amused by people that say the New Testament did away with the Old Testament law. No, it's a fulfillment. It's a realization of the law. It's bringing the glory of God into the law in its fulfillment. Because God still requires holiness to be in relationship with him. Holiness. For us to act with complete, what was our first thing? Loyalty to him. To let nothing in our life distract us, to let nothing in our life become an idol that subverts us from him. And maybe this is how, first of all, we are subversive in our regard to the law. We live in a culture, a world, and the world hasn't changed. The world is about serving oneself. But the law calls us to think differently. It's not about serving oneself, it's about serving and being loyal truly only unto the Creator, the ruler, our Redeemer. You see what I'm saying? This way we are allowed, we have that heart that's true and thinks above our earthly situation, our petty earthly situation, our selfish earthly situation, to think on a much grander scale. A scale that overarcs the reality in which we live by the one who knows what life is truly all about. That loyalty to God cannot be replaced. And so as we take a look at this, all of us, we are his, as he called the children of Israel, his holy nation. Are you that covenantal, dedicated, loyal nation to honor God's prescript for us? The law is his words, his letters of life to us. This is how he designed life for us to live. It's not a negative. It's his beautiful design. So don't think about law as restriction, as we often do as human beings. And that's oftentimes how we explain it, right? The law, I can't. No, the law is, when I obey it, I am free to realize the design of God, not only for me, but for life. So, the second thing is his commands are the heart of our being. Notice 6. And these words which I command you today shall be in, on. There's a lot of things there, different nuances, but it's at your core. It is the core of who you are. And it doesn't mean you're a legalistic law keeper. It means that you see the beauty in the design of God's direction, His guidance, His order. The beauty of this. Yes, we all know there's unfair law. Yes, we all know there's stupid laws. We read some of them. Those are reactionary to situation. God has given us prescriptive laws that are words of life. And they either become the core of who we are, or we'll always be at odds with Him and with His desires for us as His people. We will. So, as you think about that, obedience, loyalty, obedience, and the last, contribute. Notice how this passage is all about, don't do it just for the moment. Do it for longevity. Do it for the legacy. Do it, you're going to pass this down and pass it down and pass it down. So we can be a people that show the world what God's glory looks like on earth. Okay? We're not a people that are disorderly, disobedient, hateful, destructive. We're a people that bring God's design of beauty to everything. And so one of the things I love most is how James refers to the law. I just love this passage. James 1. So, let me see. Not James. Yep, here we go. Wow, I better look at my notes again. So, because I can't see that well. All right. Yep. There we go. Got the right verses now. 21 and following. Therefore, lay aside all filthiness, overflow of wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save you. But be doers of the word. Just don't agree with it. Just don't listen to it. Be doers of the word. And not just hearers, deceiving yourself. For what type of a person is a hearer of the word and not a doer? That's like a person that, looks in the mirror at his natural face and observes himself or herself and then goes away and immediately forgets what kind of person he or she is. But we who look into the perfect law of liberty, the perfect law, I love that statement, the perfect law of liberty, and continue in it, and is not forgetful in hearing, but a doer of the word, this one will be blessed in what he or she does. Wow. See, that's the thing. The law, when you really, your core changes, you're transformed in your core for that. The law transforms us. It's transformational. And yes, we're not saved by the law. The law cannot save us because Romans 3 is clear. We fall short of the glory of God. We're all lost in our sin. But when we do take that gift of grace from God through Jesus Christ, and we now start submitting our lives and living into that law, that perfect law of liberty, it transforms us to be a community unlike any community the earth can produce. We become a community that radiates God's glory if we truly submit to God, submit to one another, and we live out this law of liberty. It's not built or created to confine us. It's created by God to release us, to be a blessing to others, and to be that beautiful, perfect representation of His glory here on earth. So don't be resentful of the law. Don't be a legalistic law keeper. Be a transformational law giver. One that goes out and shares the design of God so people can know that liberty that God has given us in every way. And even the ability to, through the Holy Spirit and His Son Jesus, to start to live up to God's beautiful standard.